Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll open the meeting. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll open the meeting up to public comment. And again, public comment on the front end is for agenda items only. So if you have any questions regarding the agenda, please state your name and ask the question. Okay, we'll close public comment and we'll go into our budget presentation this evening.
Okay, so as we know from the last meeting, our business official had to not be here this evening for a prior commitment. So I'm going to walk you through the slides, and I have his talking points. So bear with me as I read them a bunch of times today to try to get through them as quickly as possible with as much explanation as I could give you on each slide. So this is our presentation of April 8th, 2025. So tonight we will be reviewing our draft 25-26 budget. We do have a revised revenue budget that we'll go over. We will talk about the proposed budget shortfall and what our next steps are. So in this slide here, you'll notice that at the last meeting on March 18th, our budget shortfall was $610,610. So the district was waiting, and we are still waiting for a New York State budget, which was due on April 1st. The state has not approved a budget and has extended their deadline. So with that in mind, we don't know where those numbers will fall, if we are expected to get anything more, or if it will stay at the dollar amounts that we know today. So the board agreed at the last meeting that we would use reserves to help close that $610,610. So that number 610, I did play that in the lottery and I didn't win. So I'm hoping now that we bring this to a different number, I can play a different number.
Always interesting how the numbers work out in budget.
Isn't it?
Very
yeah.
You'll see patterns of that.
Yeah. So on this next slide, Mr. Barnett reevaluated some of our revenues and the use of our fund balance and recognized two additional revenue sources. So you'll notice that he made an adjustment of $160,000 there in that middle column, bringing our now deficit to $450,610. So, and I'll explain in the next slide how he is coming up with those numbers.
Maybe that's the number you have to play.
So yeah, I'm thinking 450 and 610. We'll play those numbers and see if they come in. Yeah, well, maybe I'll go do that tonight. So where did that revenue come from? So he took a look at the tax levy interest and penalties that have been historical for our district, and for whatever reason, there are folks that don't pay those tax payments on time. So there are some late fee penalties that are applied that he is conservatively, he said it's more than $75,000, but he feels comfortable with taking $75,000 of that estimate and applying it toward the budget deficit. And then he also took a look at our debt service, and the financial advisors are recommending that we could use $85,000 from debt service. So that gives us a nice number of 160, bringing that number down to that 450, 610. All right, so on this next slide, this is slide 6. So based on the recommendations that the board made at the last meeting, this slide is going to show the gap. You'll notice that our ERS reserve, he's proposing using $74,347 to cover that budget shortfall. That ERS reserve is a little over $2 million right now, so he feels that roughly $74,000 can be taken from that reserve to help us bridge that gap. And then the other item that he actually spent quite a bit of time with our legal counsel on is the tax certiorari reserve. So that balance is in the higher 700,000 range. And that reserve language actually requires that after 4 years, any funds that exceed the balance of exposure must be returned to the general fund. So when they took a look at what the two outstanding litigations are, they think that they're probably combined approximately $300,000. But to be conservative, he added an additional $100,000 to that. So that would allow us to use $376,263 from the tax cert reserve, bringing us to a zero difference. So now, all of that said, if the state were to come through with any additional funds, we could go back and we could replace funds into these reserves. So that's a nice place to be. Oop, too fast. So if you take a look at what our current balances are, where our ending balances need to be, our adjustments in this iteration of the budget is that $74,347 from the ERS reserve, the $376,263 from the tax cert reserve, bringing that to the $450,610, which is the deficit that was identified earlier in the presentation. So that would give us a balanced budget. So what are our next steps? I think everyone across the state is awaiting what's going to happen with the state budget. So that might have an impact on us. We know it's not going to hurt us any more than what we currently have in this presentation. So if we just go with the numbers that he proposed this evening, we would have a balanced budget. If the state comes back with more funds, the board would have the option of putting money back into any of those reserves. The board has the option of approving what is on the table this evening, and I have a resolution for that, just in case you were ready to move this evening, but we don't have to have that tonight. It could be done at the April 22nd meeting, which is our next meeting right after spring break. And that's when the property tax report card resolution would also be put on the table. That needs to be done by April 28th. And that takes us to our, I actually spoke about this slide before I got to it. So you can see in yellow, we have 2 dates that we're trying to hit now. April 22nd, we would like to have this budget adopted and the tax report card ready. And that needs the adopting of the budget should be done no later than the 23rd. That is also the night of the budget vote, not the budget vote, sorry, the vote for BOCES. So we'll be doing that. And in the next few weeks, has nothing to do with this, you'll be getting some biographical information on the candidates that are running for the BOCES board, and our board would have to come to consensus on where we would be placing those votes for the BOCES positions, and that will happen on the 22nd. And then that's where I'm at. So I can go back and try to answer. I tried to make it as clear as I possibly could, thanks to Desmond giving me my notes. But if there are any specific questions that I can try to answer, I think it's pretty straightforward this year. We're very fortunate that we're not in the same situation that we were in a previous year. So thank you to the board for extending that opportunity for us to take a look at using some of the reserves and the fund balance.
You heard any conversation coming back from the state levels in regards to what additional funds that could be out there, if it's 1% or 2% or very slim?
Well, if you look at the Assembly bill and the Senate bill, it's like another percent. So that could help us dig into those numbers and return some of those funds to those budget lines. Where that's going to land, I don't know.
Right.
And when that's going to happen,
Or,
I'm not really sure.
they could potentially go to those budget lines.
Yep.
Can't they also go to lower the levy?
You could. I mean, we would have to know that by the 22nd so that we could make that adjustment.
We're always raising the levy,
Yeah.
albeit modestly. I just wonder if there's a potential where Would be a nice gesture. That's it.
Yeah.
It would only be a gesture. We're not talking about lots of money.
I didn't hear this morning on the radio, but one of my colleagues heard on the radio on the way in that the governor is in no hurry to settle this budget. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's what was on the radio this morning.
Well, it can only help. I mean, the only reason you wait is for you hope those numbers settle into where the proposed budget,
right,
or the estimated budget will be.
My feeling right now is to wait until the 22nd to vote on the budget. I mean, we could do it, we could adopt it this evening, but I think it would be in the best interest to have the entire board here.
Sure.
If that's possible at the next meeting. I mean, we might miss one or two, but at least we'll have the opportunity for those members to be present. I want to thank the entire administrative team, the directors, and also Desmond for the hard work that they put into this budget. This is a budget that not impacting our students or staff. I mean, we have not cut programs, we have not cut staff. So I appreciate all the hard work, and I think the entire board appreciates that also. So let's wait until 2 weeks from now. Maybe the governor will present a budget and everybody will agree, and we'll get another % or so that we could put towards replenishing the 2 reserves that we're pulling money out to balance the budget. So that being said, if the entire board's ready, good to move till next meeting, 2 weeks from tonight, to adopt the budget, we'll do that.
Yeah, just some commentary. Yes, thank you to the administrative team. I'm happy there wasn't a lot of work to do. I'm also very grateful to, I know Al, Tom, Heather are very reserve-minded, and actually over the years really talked about creating reserves, putting money in there, and it's done to stabilize program, and that's how we're using it in this case. But I was really pleasantly surprised to see some of these balances and how they've grown over the last few years. So I just want to say thank you to you for that. And we also know that taking some difficult decisions last year allow these next few years to be smoother. And we know that there's some districts out there with some really big challenges this year. So with that said, absolutely, I look forward to approving the budget whenever it's on the agenda. Great.
Yeah, I would just say my only confirmation that I would want to make is just, and obviously, you know, when Desmond is back and the next time, just making sure he's comfortable with where these reserve balances are after borrowing from them. I think one thing that I'm happier about is because we were able to use the reserves that apply in different, we weren't just pulling from everywhere just to make it work. We were using it properly, looking at the tax tertiary to say, okay, we don't need it, so it is the right thing to do, regardless of whether it was.
I think the exercise that we went through in March was to just show you the breadth of where we were looking, right, and really get some guidance as to what the board was comfortable with. And I think that's where we went back and sharpened the pencils and started looking at the different things that we could make those numbers calculate out by using different percentages from different places. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And similar to but contrary to what Mike said, I appreciate it because it hasn't been a lot of work for us, because I know you guys have done a ton of work on your end behind the scenes to make this as good as it is. So certainly appreciate all that work.
Great, thanks.
Okay. Going to our consent agenda, I'm going to move the acceptance of reports into our consent agenda. So our consent agenda will be from EA to B.6. F3.6, correct. Okay, as normal, if you want to put something out, if you need clarification, we can do that. Otherwise, we can accept the consent items as a block. Does anyone have any questions regarding the consent agenda? All right, I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Tom, second by Heather. No further questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? So carried.
Just a quick comment, just appreciate the donations from the Community Foundation and then also the Highland Wrestling Booster Club. I know they do a ton of work on behalf of our program, so certainly want to appreciate those donations.
Okay, we'll move on to our system soup for curriculum and instructions.
Good evening, everyone. I have one item to share with you about UPK. Last Thursday, April 3rd, the district sent out a press release to several media outlets about next year's UPK program. It reads as follows. The Highland Central School District is pleased to announce that it will continue to offer its universal pre-kindergarten program next year. The district will begin accepting applications for the program on Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. It is anticipated that there will be 48 UPK spots available for the 25-26 school year. The final number will be determined once the New York State budget is adopted. Spots will once again be assigned using a random lottery selection process. The program is not first come, first served. The UPK application period will close on Friday, May 2nd, 2025. The online application and list of frequently asked questions can be found on our website. That's the district website. And there's also a link that will be on our Facebook page tomorrow. A lottery selection will take place in early May to determine which students are eligible to register for the program, which will start in September. The district will email each applicant after the lottery to let them know whether their student was selected or placed on the waiting list. In order to be eligible for the UPK program, a child must be a resident of the Highland Central School District and turn 4 years old on or before December 1st, 2025. If anyone has any questions or would like more information, please reach out to Carly Jacobson or me at the district office. So just to recap, the application process will go live tomorrow, and it will be open for about 3.5 weeks and end on May 2nd.
Any questions for
How many seats was that available, Bill?
48.
Is that similar to last year?
Yeah, last year we offered 58, but we were only able to fill. We started the year with 58, but ended with closer to 52 right about now. So almost.
Right about there.
Yeah.
any other questions for Bill?
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Boyd.
Hi, everyone. We are wrapping up our third quarter. So we're collecting our homeschool reports, and we'll be putting out our progress reports for our students with disabilities. And we are wrapping up the majority of our annual review meetings. Big thank you to staff on all of that with their flexibility in attending those meetings. We still have a few days left and some makeup meetings, but majority of them are done at this point. We will be out visiting our incoming kindergarten students in the next few weeks to go see how they're doing in their current placements, and then getting to see them as well on kindergarten screening day on May 9th. So we'll get a clear picture so we can place our students appropriately and prepare for them for when they come in September. And just last, I just want to commend all of our staff and students. This is a long stretch before spring break that we've had. So just want to commend them for all their hard work. It's been great seeing a lot of our celebrations of learning with some gallery walks, some book publishings. So we always love to go see those events showcasing our students' learning. So just a big thank you to everyone for their hard work leading up to this well-deserved break coming up.
Okay, any questions for Dr. Boyd? Thank you, sir. Superintendent.
All right, so I have a visual this evening. So our new poster has arrived for the upcoming induction of the Hall of Fame. So Gene Rizzo, Fred DeMeo, and Mary Beth Sasso. That dinner will take place on Friday, May 9th, 6 to 10 p.m. at Indian Ridge, $65 a piece for the tickets. And they are still available from Becky Moody at 845-234-1522. I have not hung the poster because it actually goes to the dinner. It's one of the things that
Sure.
welcomes folks. But when we bring it back, we've already adjusted the wall,
Nice.
so they will be there right above Mrs. Heisenbuttle's head.
Should probably put one straight across, right?
So, so as Dr. Boyd said, our spring break is upon us, and we have not used any of the snow days that we talked about at the last meeting. So we are adding Friday, February 11th and Monday, April 21st back to the calendar for 10-month employees and students. And then should we have any need to close after that, we still have 2 additional days. If we don't use those will be returned around Memorial Day on May 23rd. That's a Friday, and May 27th, which is a Tuesday.
That was April 11th.
Did I say the wrong day again?
February.
Boy, oh boy. And it says, you know what it
like
says?
that.
It says Friday, April 11th. Hopefully I didn't say any wrong numbers over there. I think I have dysgraphia or something. Let's see, the budget video. We will do the budget video again like we did last year, except that this year it will be a little bit more professionally done. So I have the folks from BOCES coming over to meet with Desmond and I after the next, after you approve the budget at the next board meeting. So last year, if you remember, we kind of threw it together at the last minute on an iPhone in my office, and it still came out okay, but we would like to get it to be looking a little bit more professional. So we'll get that done the week after spring break, and then we'll have it on our socials. We'll ask folks to please share it out so that the community is aware. I got a lot of good feedback last year that people felt that they didn't have to necessarily come to a meeting to get all of the information about the vote. So, so we'll get that done right after break. I want to thank the administration of the buildings that hosted an internet safety and cell phone procedure evening here at the high school on May 20th. It was an informative evening. It was not as well attended as we would have liked it to be, but nobody can say that we didn't put the information out there and make it available. So I want to thank them for taking time out of their busy schedule to get that all together. This coming week, tomorrow evening, is the Seal of Civic Readiness presentations here at the high school at 6 p.m. On Thursday, World Language Night is taking place here at the high school at 6 p.m. And our next board meeting, April 22nd at 6 p.m. And that's when we will be adopting the budget. That's all I have for this evening.
Any questions for the superintendent?
That's plenty of events for anybody.
What's that?
So that's plenty of events for anybody.
Good stuff.
Thank you. Yes, yes. The world languages always does a nice job.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to our Board of Education new business. Highland Central School District candidates nominating petitions for nominating candidates for the office of the Board of Education of Highland Central School District are available at the central office beginning March 10th between the hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, except for April 21st, which is 5 p.m. Following vacancies which expire on June 30th, 2025 are to be filled. Term of Janine Gemmel, term of Tom Miller. The term of office is for 3 years. In order to be considered as a candidate, the individuals must be 18 years old, a registered voter in the Highland Central School District, and able to read and write. They must also have been a resident of the district continuously for 1 year prior to the election, May 20th, 2025. The completed petitions with the signatures of 25 qualified district voters must be filed with the clerk of the district no later than 5 p.m. on Monday, April 21st. Candidates may submit an email declaring their intent to run and to request a packet. Only the original petitions accepted and must be received by 5 p.m. on April 21st. Only original completed packets will be accepted. For any questions, you may contact the district office or Lisa Cerniglia, the district clerk, at 845-691-1020, extension 3157. Okay, under old business, presentation of graduation diplomas. I know at the last meeting, Tom had mentioned some discussion regarding the presentation of diplomas by current board members, past board members, so we can continue that discussion and come to some consensus moving forward. And again, you know, it's not a policy It's an agreement, and it can be changed in future years by future boards. Tom, you want to?
Basically, we're looking at, again, like Al discussed, current board members, former board members, handing diplomas to their children, grandchildren, that sort of thing. That's about it. We don't want to get too crazy and, start adding all kinds of other levels of relatives into the mix. Just a way to honor the board member.
You have to have served on the board.
Yes, that's
to enjoy that courtesy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's the extent of it. But that's also the limitation, is that.
Well, it's a very special day, and it comes with many limitations, right?
Right.
We want to keep the focus on the graduates.
It's been done in the past, and for a couple of years it got a little out of control because there was, they were honoring a lot of people, cousins and nieces and nephews, and that's that was just not the what it was supposed
I think
to be.
the intent is that you honor your child or grandchild.
Yeah, that's the.
So do we want to set those parameters that it's child or grandchild or
No, I'm just trying to
stepchildren?
encapsulate, just for our discussion, what the practice has been historically, generally.
Historically, and as Tom said, you can go back quite a few years ago where graduating students would request a board member to give out their diploma.
Right.
And then that would expand to multiple students. So one board member could, in essence, be giving out, 10, 12.
Sounds very sprawling and never ending
Right.
and no good.
Right. And it kind of
Breaks it up to much.
extended the graduation process, and graduation's for the students, they're the ones that are graduating. It's not to honor, the past board members or whoever that's giving out the diploma. It's for the graduates. I would simply say that we have to just kind of police it a little bit, that it's a current sitting board member or a past board member giving out to their children, stepchildren, or grandchildren. I don't think it should be expanded to cousins, other relatives or such. I think we have to establish a deadline where that request is. I know Brandon's not here, but Bill, maybe you can answer what lead time prior to graduation would, you're looking at 3 or 4 weeks that guidance should know who's giving out what diploma so they can make it part of their.
I would recommend about a month in advance would be.
I didn't know it was student driven, actually. I thought it was adult driven. Otherwise, how would students know that that's even an option?
Recognition of the students, you would want them to make
They're
that
all
decision.
being recognized. It's graduation. I'm just.
Yeah, but you would want them to make that decision, I would think.
Probably the adult. Let the
That-
student
Right.
know.
If my kid doesn't want me to present it, shouldn't be me telling them. It's their celebration, not mine.
No, but you have a conversation. Do you want
Absolutely.
this to happen?
Absolutely.
That's all it was. And then the kid takes it, lead and, mentions it to the principal, and that's how it happens. It's a simple thing.
Yeah, it's a nice addition to the ceremony.
Right.
So, and for past board members, it's going to be, word of mouth. I mean, we're not going to go out and notify every past board member that they can do something like that. So, I mean, it's just a practice that we internally have been doing.
Saying this in public, so that should reverberate.
Right. Okay, we're good.
I'll put it in the minutes.
Yeah.
And just for the record again, it was to child, grandchild,
Stepchild.
stepchild.
Child.
Okay,
And
thanks.
30 days
notification-
prior.
right.
Was that
30 days prior to the
Yeah.
graduation ceremony.
Okay. We're good on that. Next item under old business is our policy regarding community use of turf fields. This is our second reading. It has been vetted by legal. It's now no longer a draft. If we accept it as our second reading, it'll go in as policy. And it would be policy 3280R is revision of our current policy.
It's actually in addition to into the 3280.
Right, okay.
So this would be the regulation that goes along with just the field part.
And there was no change from last meeting to this meeting on the policy, right?
No, it was just renumbering, reorganizing verbiage to make it more clear.
So it is, just to be clear, it's policy number 3280R. Why? Because you have a form going on? It's a regulation? Is there a form?
Correct. So this would be the regulation that goes after the existing policy.
I got you.
So,
Thank you.
yep.
And they did make all the changes that were suggested by the board.
You know what, Tom? Motion to accept the community use turf fields policy.
Motion by Mike. Got a second?
I'll second.
I've read it several times.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? 5-0. I'm sorry, 4-0. Okay.
Let the fun begin. Since we're just talking about the turf field in that area, I guess we're still under old business. I was going to ask anyway. Timing of the track pour, any idea? Or
May 20th? Somewhere around
Okay.
there. Somewhere around May 20th.
Okay.
We're first on their list because it's temperature sensitive, so we're first
Sure.
on their list. I mean, if there's some rain, it'll get pushed out, but
It ain't doing it outside right now. It's got to warm up.
Yeah.
So I hear
they're confident that we have no issues with graduation, so it'll be completed prior to graduation.
Thank you. It's just looking at that.
Anything for the good and welfare of the district? I just want to make comment. Over a week and a half ago, we lost a dear friend of the Highland Central School District and the Board of Education, Kim Sweeney. Our thoughts and prayers go out to their family. She was an asset to the board when she served, and we appreciate the time that she devoted to the school district. It was a sad situation to hear that she had passed on. Okay. Anything else for good and welfare of the district? Okay, open the meeting up to public comment for general items. Mr. Reynolds.
Yes, I have a couple of questions. A few weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, I read a story, or did a story on the crematorium for the pets. Has the district ever been notified about that possibility? It's 100 feet from the elementary school. Is there proposing? It's been before the planning board for months.
Just read that, yeah.
And has there been ever any
To
notification?
my knowledge.
There was no zoning change requested? Because normally if there's a zoning change,
Yeah,
we would get notified.
Because
Adjacent
crematoriums-
landowners would get notified.
Because there's no zone in the district that allows, in a town that allows crematoriums. So they're putting it under a certain category in it's a GB zone right now. But I think the thing that they're trying to do is make it part of the design business zone. But I know I
Where
spoke
would
with
it be
Mike
located?
briefly about it.
Yeah.
Next to
Right on
Sawyer
9W.
Savings Bank, there's a parcel there. There's an old
Used to be
house.
like an office for
Oh, I remember.
medical.
Let's reach out to Dave Plavchak
Yeah.
and
Yeah, we'll have to reach out.
But I think normally you would get some sort of a notice.
I'm not sure if the district got a notice.
Not that I'm aware of.
we would have read it tonight. I mean, we would have
I do
been
appreciate that
notified of
article
it.
because I didn't know
This is
about it
normally,
until I
if
read
it's a
that.
Yeah.
zoning change, you get a letter that you can attend the public hearing, but I don't know, if once it reaches planning board, I'm not sure if there is a public
It's
hearing.
been there since December in front of them, and I didn't find out about it till relatively recent
I
item.
just found out when I read your article.
But I didn't know whether the board might have an opinion about that, or negative or positive about it, and are you gonna weigh in at some point?
I think at this point we will weigh in.
As we learn more about it, I don't know that we can speak to it this
Find
evening.
out what the.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I have a couple other questions. Joel, you mentioned there are 2 litigations in terms of that, do you know who they're with or what companies they're with?
Off the top of my head, I don't. All the notes that I have here are just that there's always something in the tax cert. I don't have that information this evening.
Okay, maybe I'll get it from Lisa if I could do that,
Yeah, I don't see why not. Or Desmond.
or Desmond, okay. And the tax levy is not decided at the moment? Or will be decided soon, once New York State finishes their budget?
Yeah, I think they're gonna give us an idea that on the adoption date at the next meeting, and we were talking, I believe, about 2 point something a few meetings ago, but there was nothing firm, there was still information.
Right.
Do you think under the tax cap it'll come under?
Oh, yeah.
No,
yeah,
we're not.
Under the tax cap, absolutely.
And what is the Highlands tax cap?
Just a rule.
That's in the last presentation.
Okay.
It's in the presentation. Off
Oh,
the top of my head, I don't have that.
I have that. And the last question I have was, in the consent agenda, you had a stipulation of settlement. Do you know, or generally what that was about, and is there a monetary amount that was paid?
That was with insurance, and I don't know if that's something that can be spoken about.
Oh,
It's student related.
And is there a dollar amount that you can release?
I don't believe so. Because it's not from us, it's through insurance.
Oh, it's not an issue with the district.
Well, we have to agree, but it's not something that, it's all done through insurance.
Was it a lawsuit that occurred?
Wait, no, wait, wait.
I don't think we can talk about it.
No, we can't.
Okay.
Student personnel, so we can't speak about it.
Okay.
It would be identifiable to that child, so I don't think we're allowed to speak about it. I'll check with legal counsel and see, and I can report the next meeting, but I don't believe that we're allowed to make a statement on it.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll close public comment and I'll ask the board for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Tom, second by Heather. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you all for coming out.
Well, if I